Hey there, fellow educators, and honestly, anyone who's ever wondered what would happen if we actually listened to teachers for once. I'm Leah Cleary, and this is If Teachers Ruled the World. You know, after 25 years in the classroom, I've learned that teaching isn't really about having all the answers. It's about being brave enough to ask the right questions, and maybe, just maybe, admitting when we have no idea what we're doing, which, let's be honest, happens more often than we'd like to admit. So grab your coffee, or whatever, and let's talk about the real stuff, the messy, imperfect, sometimes beautiful reality of what it's like to shape young minds while trying to keep our own sanity intact. Because if we're going to change the world, we might as well be honest about what that actually looks like. All right, let's dive in. Hey there, teachers. Welcome back to If Teachers Ruled the World. I'm Leah Cleary, and today we're talking about something that has changed my teaching life over the past year, using AI as an assistant. Now, before you think this is going to be some techie, overwhelming episode, let me just say, I'm a classroom teacher with 25 years of experience who was drowning in essays, and I found some tools that helped. That's it. That's the episode. Well, okay, there's a little more to the episode than that, but I want you to know up front, this is practical. This is tested in my actual classroom with my actual students. And I'm going to give you options at different price points because I know teachers' budgets are real. And believe me, one of those price points is $0. So let's get started. Here's what happened. My school really started loading our AP classes, and before I knew it, those classes just kept growing. I went from having 50 AP students to 60 to 76 to 80. You get the idea. We now have way more than that. We actually hired another teacher to help because AP World History and AP US History, these are heavy, heavy, heavy writing classes. There's always a ton to grade. And I wanted my students to be writing a lot more than they were. But I was facing this impossible choice. Either my students write less, or I find a way to give them the feedback they deserve without losing my mind or my weekends. Both very important to me. Now, I know there are hacks out there. You've probably seen them. The one where you tell students to color code their essays, thesis statement in one color, evidence in another color, analysis in another. And then you only grade one element, so students can write more and you have fewer things to grade. I get why teachers do this. I really, really do. Time is finite and we're all doing our very best. But I'm going to be honest with you. That practice never sat well with me. Here's why. What if a student wrote a killer essay? I mean, killer evidence, brilliant analysis, everything working together, but they just didn't quite hit the mark on context. And what if context is the one thing I decided to grade that day, and they didn't know that beforehand? That seems kind of mean to me. They did all this work, and I'm cherry picking the one thing they missed. If I'm going to have students practice just one part of an essay, I want to be upfront about it. Today we're writing thesis statements. That's what I'm grading. Or today, give me your evidence for this prompt. I'd rather they only write what I'm grading, not me picking through a complete assignment looking for one thing I want to score. Again, absolutely positively no judgment if you do this. We all have to survive. I have done it before. But I wanted something different, and that's where AI came in. Custom GPTs and other AI tools have really enabled me to give students, especially with these larger class sizes in the AP classes, very specific feedback on frequent writing assignments. And they help me make that feedback timely. So let me walk you through 4 different ways you can use AI as your teaching assistant. From free options to paid ones, and you can pick what works best for your situation. Let me start with what I use the most, custom GPTs, or if you're in the know, GPTs. Now, I need to be upfront with you about something. Custom GPTs require ChatGPT Plus, which is $20 a month. That's real money for teachers. So let me tell you why I personally invested in this, and then I'll give you free alternatives. Here's what I built. I created grading GPTs for each of the College Board essays for AP World History. It knows the 2024 College Board standards. I loaded the rubrics in. It understands what evaluate the extent actually means in an LEQ prompt. It knows not to give half points. All of that's programmed in. Now, when I have a stack of essays to grade, I just open my custom GPT app and say, score these. I can snap photos of handwritten essays, or I can copy and paste typed ones, and it grades them according to everything I've already told it to do. Now, I do review it. I go back over it, and I don't type in my comments, but I talk my comments into my phone and say, this isn't exactly what I wanted, or this is historically inaccurate. Please revisit that. So it's not like I'm on autopilot here, but it saves a ton of time and gives the students really specific feedback. Let me tell you what I used to do before custom GPTs existed, so you can understand the difference. I had this whole Google Drive folder of prompts. I would have a prompt for an LEQ, a prompt for an SAQ, for all the different types of essays we write. And each prompt would have all the stuff in it. Like, this student wrote an LEQ. Here was their prompt. Then I would take a screenshot of the LEQ rubric and paste it into the document. Then I'd write out, please score this essay according to this rubric. Ensure that the student fully addresses the prompt, evaluates the extent, is historically accurate, no half points. All the specifics about what I wanted and what I didn't want. All of the things that I've already programmed into my custom GPT. I'd even include an example of how I wanted the score and the feedback to look. Maybe I'd type in feedback from an LEQ I had already scored. Or if ChatGPT had done one for me before that I really liked, I'd copy and paste that format and say, this is what I want it to look like. Stick strictly to the 2024 College Board rubric. And here is a screenshot of that. It was a whole process every single time. With a custom GPT, I did all of that one time. And now it's just there, ready to go. So $20 a month is worth it for me. Here's how I justify it. The time it saves me and the quality of specific feedback my students get. I'm talking about getting 76 essays back to students in a day or two instead of 2 weeks. That's meaningful. A couple of other things to know. Depending on what state you live in, you can write off a certain amount for education expenses on your taxes. The amount is generally far less than what teachers actually spend on their classrooms, but that $20 a month can count toward what you're able to write off each year. So it does help a little. I've also heard, and this is pretty rare, but worth checking with your district about, some counties or districts are purchasing ChatGPT Plus for their teachers. Maybe not your county, but it doesn't hurt to ask. Now, I also created something to help you if you want to go this route. I have a custom GPT that helps teachers make custom GPTs for grading. It's very meta. It's free to download. I'll put the link in the show notes, and you can also find it on my website at leahcleary.com/GPT for grading landing page. Once again, that is leahcleary.com/GPT for grading landing page. This GPT walks you through building your very own grading assistant step by step. I absolutely, positively love it. Okay, so here is your second option, and this is a free option. We'll call it Tier 2. This is where keeping a prompt library becomes your best friend. Remember that Google Drive folder I mentioned? You can absolutely, positively still do that with the free versions of ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, any of that. Here's how this works. Keep a document, Google Doc, Word Doc, whatever you use, with your prompts organized by assignment type. Every time you need to grade that type of assignment, you copy the prompt, paste it into the free AI tool, and then paste the student work. Let me give you an example of what one of these prompts might look like. So this is one from one of my SAQs. And I would paste this in for all of my SAQs and then put in the specific prompt that students were answering that time before I started scanning student papers. So here's the prompt. This is an AP Modern World History SAQ. It is worth 3 points total. Each part, A, B, and C, is awarded 1 point if it is answered with a complete sentence, addresses the prompt, and is historically accurate. If any part is not answered, that part does not get a point. But grade the other parts. No half points may be awarded. Each part can either get a 1 or a 0. General scoring notes. And then I go through a bulleted list. Each point is earned independently, accuracy, stuff about content knowledge, stuff about clarity. So there's a lot of stuff here. I'm not going to read it all to you. And then I would type in, or paste in rather, the student prompt, which starts with answer all parts of the question that follows. And then I would just start scanning the student papers and let it give feedback one at a time. I would definitely make sure that the student papers were in alphabetical order, and I would not include their name on that for privacy reasons. Now, the free versions of ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude will all read screenshots. So you can take a screenshot of your rubric and paste it right into that chat. The AI will read it and use it to score the essay. The trade-off here is very clear. It's more work each time because you're copying and pasting that prompt for every single batch of essays. But it costs you $0. And honestly, if you're not grading mountains of essays every week, this might be all you need. Okay, now let's talk about a different type of AI teaching assistant, one that works directly with your students while you're doing other things. I just started using Magic School AI rooms, and I'm on the free tier. Today, I use the rooms with my students for writing practice, and I'm still figuring out what the limits are on the free version, but so far, it's been really useful for giving students that extra layer of support. Class Companion is similar. It has these little AI bots that coach students through the writing process. It's like having multiple teaching assistants in the room so you can walk around and be free to help several students at once. The beauty of this approach is literally that everybody's getting help. I'm not sitting down next to one student who's really struggling for 20 minutes while everyone else waits. Students who aren't struggling as badly are still getting support. And I can circulate more effectively because I have way more bandwidth. Let me tell you what I've noticed since I started doing this. First, students actually read the AI feedback. When I used to handwrite comments on essays, I swear, half the time they wouldn't even pay attention to it. They'd look at the grade and move on. But with the AI feedback, something really different happens. They challenge it, and I want them to challenge it. I'm very transparent with my students about using AI for grading. I tell them, guys, my feedback is not going to be as specific as AI's is. So I'm going to give you the AI feedback and your score, and you are free to challenge any aspect of it that you want to. But you have to tell me specifically why, and you need to argue your case. Then I'll take a look at it, and I'll be the ultimate decider. And you know what? That process, where they're arguing their case against the AI score, that's making them learn the rubric backwards and forwards. They're getting intimately familiar with what makes a good thesis statement, what counts as evidence, how to analyze effectively. It's like built-in metacognition about the writing standards. The other thing is, with our increased class sizes, it's harder and harder to do things like one-on-one writing conferences. There just isn't time. So getting really specific, timely feedback through AI, that, my friends, is the next best thing. Students are getting detailed feedback within a day or two instead of 2 to 3 weeks later when they've already moved on mentally. So they're getting timely feedback. And here's something I've also noticed. My students are becoming very adept at coming into class, sitting down, putting pen to paper, and just writing because they're practicing more. They're getting more feedback. They're not waiting weeks to find out how they did. Now, I'm going to be really honest with you about something I struggle with. Sometimes the AI grades an essay and I disagree with what it scored and I want to override it. I'll look at it and think, wait, what about this? Look at that. And I'll start arguing with the AI and going back and forth. And I have to stop myself, especially when I'm in a huge, huge hurry, which is most of the time. I have to tell myself, the onus is on the student. The onus is on the student to find any errors and to challenge them. Seriously, I do talk into it and talk back with it and say, revisit this. No, this is historically inaccurate. Check that out again. If it's simple and, it'll fix it. The AI will fix it then. But as far as this perfectionistic minutia, which is something that I have a tendency to get into, I have to stop myself. Here's what worries me sometimes. They're probably not going to tell me if ChatGPT errs in their favor, correct? If they get the point, they maybe didn't fully earn it. They're not going to come to me and say, hey, I think ChatGPT is being way too generous here. And that bothers me because I definitely don't want to reinforce the wrong thing. But then I have to remind myself, as a human being, when I score essays, I can miss things too. I make mistakes too. I might be more generous on a Friday afternoon when I'm tired. I might be tougher on a Monday morning. That is just reality. The feedback from AI is going to be much quicker. It's going to be much more thorough than I can manage with 76 essays. And I just have to accept the fact that it's not always going to be perfect. Neither am I. And you know what? That's okay. Because the alternative is those stacks of papers that sit for weeks or assignments that I just don't give because I can't face grading them. Our feedback that's so delayed, it does not even help the students anymore. Good enough is always better than perfect. And AI feedback is way better than no feedback, or feedback that comes 3 weeks later. Here's the thing that matters most to me. This gives me more time for actual human connection with my students. I was speaking about this at a conference last week, and somebody raised their hand and said, but what about classroom community? I feel like doing this disconnects you from your students. And I found it to be just the opposite. When students have AI chatbots helping them draft their essays, and I'm not stuck sitting with one struggling student for half the class period, suddenly I can circulate. I can check in with everyone. I can have those quick conversations that matter. I can notice who's frustrated, who's flying through it, who needs a different kind of support. Everybody's getting help. Everybody's getting timely feedback, not just the student who's struggling most. And I have way more bandwidth to actually be present with my students instead of drowning in papers and agonizing over how I'm going to score this. That's what this is really about for me. It's not about replacing teaching with technology. It's about using technology so I can do more actual teaching, so that I can interact more with my students. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. Pick your tier, free, paid, whatever you want to do, based on your budget and your situation. If you're going the free route, create one prompt this week for your most common writing assignment. Keep it in a Google Doc where you can easily copy and paste from it. Try it out on the next batch of that assignment type that you grade. See how it goes. If you're willing to invest $20 a month, or if you're able to, download my custom GPT maker. It's free, and I'll have this link in the show notes. Use it to create one grading assistant for your most frequent assignment type, just one. See how it feels. Again, you can get it at leahcleary.com/GPT for grading landing page, but it is in the show notes. If you want to try student-facing AI, check out Magic School AI or Class Companion. Those are great ones. Start with one class, one assignment, one room. Don't try to revolutionize everything all at once. That will drive you crazy. The goal here is not perfection. The goal is to try one thing that might give you back some time and give your students better feedback and quicker feedback. Start small, see what works, and adjust from there. Look, I always want you to hear this from me because I have to say it to myself all the time. You do not have to be perfect, but here's what I need you to know. Our job is a lot. And shortcuts like this, they help way, way, way more than they hurt. The only people who will tell you differently are people who haven't taught in a very long time. Our world has changed. Our class sizes are bigger. Our students are different. Think about those stacks of paper that pile up for weeks. You know the ones. Eventually, half of them end up in file 13. That's what we used to call the trash can way back in the day. You're just so bogged down that some assignments never get graded at all. You don't have time. If I'm giving students an assignment, I want it to be meaningful, and I want them to have feedback, real feedback, timely feedback. Those AI tools, they let me do that without sacrificing my nights and weekends. I get to put together puzzles now. I get to read. I get to watch Netflix instead of constantly grading. That is a gift. And my students, they're writing more. They're getting better feedback faster, and they're actually engaging with that feedback. So pick your tier, baby, free or paid, and try one thing this week. Your future self will thank you, and so will your students. I'll have all the resources in the show notes. The custom GPT maker, links to Magic School and Class Companion, everything at leahcleary.com. Thanks for listening. Now go. Give yourself permission to work smarter, not harder. And I'll see you next time. That's it for this week on If Teachers Ruled the World. Be sure to subscribe, share with a teacher friend, and join the conversation at leahcleary.com. Until next time, keep ruling your classroom and rewriting the rules.